Hello, friends. Welcome. This is a very impromptu. I don't even know what the shot looks like. Should I stand closer or further away? Good morning. This is the second teaching video of the How to Be Unique series. This one is about consumption, basically like using the concept of you are what you eat, but when it comes to media. So what we're going to be talking about in this video is how our inputs affect our output. And the reason I want to do this video a little differently, I want to do it a little more vlog style. It is recording, good. I want to do it a little bit more vlog style because I am experimenting with being extra mindful about the things that I am watching, especially being mindful of not just mindlessly scrolling those reel scrolls or like the TikTok scrolls. And I did a lot of that the last few days and it just made me feel really icky. And then I was like, oh, I know I'm feeling icky is because this is actually the topic of this next video, and I needed to feel that contrast again because I wasn't scrolling for a while. And then the past 2 days I was, and I felt really gross. And I was like, why did I just get back into this habit? But now I realize that it's probably because I'm making this video and I need to remember what it feels like when you're not paying attention to what you're consuming and how that feels like it clogs your channel. So I have got my coffee. I added some ground cardamom powder. It's a vibe. It doesn't really add much flavor, but it adds like an aromatic, and it's really nice. But yeah, okay, we're gonna do this as a vlog thing, so I'll keep like checking in periodically when I have stuff to say about it, and then maybe we'll do like a conclusion at the end. So yeah, I have to fix my I rewatched the footage and I was like, my necklace is messed up. I've got like my pant strings are messed up, whatever. We're being natural, we're being our unique selves. I was gonna say that I notice in my life that I mindlessly consume content when I am experiencing discomfort in my body or discomfort in my mind, and I don't really want to feel it. And so any moment there is between tasks, like if I'm really focused on a task, that's good and fine, like I'm fully in it and that's great. But anytime I complete a task and I'm like moving on to another task, that's where those windows of potentially falling into scroll holes show up for me, because it's like the period between moving from one task to another. It's like you complete something and then you're in like a void space, in like a micro void space in your day where you're choosing your next thing that you're gonna do, or you're like getting ready to do your next thing, and there's like a gap. And right now, because I am intentionally not like paying attention and I'm like, I'm not gonna go into scroll hole, it's like I finished editing that, or sorry, filming that clip outside. I came inside and my first like desire was to like pick up my phone up and see what there is, because I was like, I need to be stimulated, because I've been feeling not so great the past few days. Like I feel kind of like congested in general, like physically, but also I've been processing a lot around not feeling seen for my work, and I talked about this in my recent podcast episode. And there's like this heavy energy that I'm like moving through right now, and so anytime there's a pause, it just feels so like hard to sit with it, and so then I mindlessly consume. So that's observation number 1 for this video. So instead, what I have to do is I literally just have to sit in the silence or put on, it's like the title of this video is It's Not About Consuming Less. It's not about consuming less. If I have something intentional that I want to tune into, like a YouTube video or a podcast or like music or something that I'm like intentionally turning on because it's of genuine interest to me, that's different. I'm talking about like mindlessly just like opening up a media thing and then just like, it's like when you're like back in the day when you turn on the TV and then you're just like flipping through channels aimlessly. Like that's what scrolling feels like, because you're not intentionally, you're just trying to like not feel what your sensations are coming up. So yeah, that's that for now. Oh my gosh, it is so nice outside. I did put my jacket on though, because I could be like this, but why should I if I could be warm? Okay, so I identified in the past a little bit. I identified my strategy for this next, well, forever, preferably. I guess the first step was like being aware of when I tend to go into unintentional content consumption mode, or like binge eating essentially, but for content that I don't actually care about. I think the first step was identifying that I was doing that and that it does affect me in a way that I don't like, and then noticing when I do that, like what is the situation that I reach for my phone to do that in. And it's like when I am feeling some sort of discomfort or I'm processing something energetically that feels complicated or intense, then in the moments where there's silence in between tasks, I reach for that distraction basically, or those dopamine hits to kind of like not feel bad. Okay, so past few moments, hour or so, I was observing this thing, right? So I'm like record, and then I'm like, okay, I turn it off, and then I'm like, oh, I really want to reach for my phone, but I'm obviously not going to do that, so what do I want to do instead? And it's like sitting in silence for me. I love silence, actually. I am someone who doesn't really even like music playing in the background. I'd never put music on in the background. I prefer silence because I can hear myself better and I can tune into my inner sensations better. So it's about allowing yourself to just sit in that space and wait for your inner guidance to kind of lead you into your next task. And this process gets hijacked. This intuitive process of navigating through our life and navigating through our days gets hijacked by the pull of content, like the pull of these extremely addictive social media algorithms. But if you are aware of that, you can notice when that's happening and you can not give in to it. And what you'll notice is that you just sit in silence for a little bit, or you just kind of pay attention, and there will eventually be, it's like you have to be okay with the sense of boredom, the temporary sense of boredom, and then you will naturally find the next thing that you want to explore, go into. And the more that you resist the silence and the boredom, the longer that you'll probably stay in there. But if you just let yourself just like be, and just, if you're bored, just like pay attention to what you're feeling, just feel your feelings, you might get a thought of like, oh, there was this like YouTube video that I really wanted to check out. And it's like following like true interest and true inspiration to fuel your every move, rather than aimlessly wandering and like hooking into whatever is in front of you. It's like being intentional about like noticing what your interests are leading you towards, and then following that. And when you're hijacked by things that you don't actually care about and you're consuming mindlessly, you're spending the time that you could doing something that's truly aligned, which is signified to you by your genuine interest, like something that comes from within, like, oh, I really want to watch that YouTube video. Oh my God, there was that podcast I really wanted to listen to. It's like intentional media consumption. It just feels so much better, and you feel more aligned. And I'm already noticing, as I've done that over the past hour, like I'm already starting to feel more myself and more in my own zone, and less worried about what other people are thinking of me or what other people are doing. Like that's one of the energies I was processing this week, is like not feeling received by others. But like the more that I'm coming into myself, it's like a stream. It's like coming into the stream of like my actual interests, and not getting pulled out of that stream by irrelevant things, aka distractions. When I like spend time coming back into that, it becomes easier, And I also start to give naturally less of a shit about what other people are doing or how other people are perceiving me, because I'm enjoying just following my interests. Whereas I think when I'm consuming everything and anything, I get confused about what is for me and what's not for me, and I get confused about what I am and what I am not, and I end up going into like a comparison zone kind of thing and feeling like a sense of not enoughness, and then I get hyperfixated on evidence in my reality that proves my not enoughness, which is like not feeling like I have the analytics that I want and things like that. So I'm learning, like, if I just stay in my lane, essentially stay in my stream, and the way I do that is what I just said, just pay attention to my actual interests. And if I don't have an inspiration to do anything, it's literally just like letting myself sit in that silence and that void space and just like being with that, whatever it is, and knowing that something new, like a new pathway or a new step forward, clarity on the next step will just come up in the next few minutes. But yeah, okay, that's it for this clip. All right, so new clip. This is about why it's so important to be mindful of the energy that we're consuming. We're all very sensitive, some more than others. I feel like if you're watching this video, you're probably more sensitive like me. And it can be really easy to absorb vibes. Okay, so every single person in the world has a unique vibe. And when I talk about how to be unique, what we're really talking about is how to, that unique vibe that you're born with, the frequency that is you, uniquely you. In this series, we're learning how to express it more and more. And so when you're consuming other people's stuff, what you're doing when you're consuming is you're absorbing other people's unique vibes. And the reason why it's so important to make sure that you're paying attention to the vibes you're consuming is because there's going to be vibes that are harmonious with your unique vibe, and then there's going to be vibes that are disharmonious. And if you intake too much vibe that is disharmonious, it can make it hard for you to be potent in what you're projecting outwards into the world. It can mess up your own even perception of what you are, or who you are. Like, it's like your potent, unique vibe, the frequency that is you, that you're meant to project out into the world, it can get muddied by disharmonious energy. In the same way that it can be muddied by disharmonious energy, it can be amplified and elevated with harmonious energy. So again, like, it's not about consuming less necessarily. It might be about that for some people, but it doesn't have to be that for everyone. It's not that you have to consume less. It's about consuming mindfully so that the information and the content and the energies that you are bringing into your field, the things you're reading, the things you're watching, that they are amplifying you or elevating your unique vibe. Like, they're adding to what you already have rather than taking away from it. So that's why it's important to pay attention to what you are eating because there's some things that are good for you and some things that are not so good for you, and it can affect what you're putting out, because if you're taking in too many things that are disharmonious, what you're putting out can be muddied and disharmonious, and you can perceive the results, the energy that comes back to you, that it might be more disharmonious. Whereas if you're taking in things that are constructive to you and you're putting that through your system, and then it's going to amplify your vibe, and it's going to bring in more harmony in what you create, more harmony in the energy that returns back to you as a result of putting that creation out. So yeah, an example, again, we're going to be talking about, like, I just keep talking about it, but the TikTok reels, right? It's just anyone and everyone shows up in front of you, and everyone is doing what they're meant to be doing. No one is right or wrong. This isn't like a morality hierarchy scale. It's just that there's some things that are for you right now, and there's some things that are not for you right now. And the things that are for you and not for you, these change with every moment. So if someone resonates with you right now, they might not resonate with you in like a week, and vice versa. But it's not about they're good or they're bad, or you're good and they're bad. It's about the fact that you have to be intentional so that you strengthen what you are, like the frequency streams that you already are, you know. And when you strengthen those, the potency increases and the magnetism increases and your impact increases. And whereas if you are taking in too many things that are not resonant to you and you're just like mindlessly consuming them because it's just what's in front of you, then it can take away from your potency and do those opposite effects. So yeah. Welcome back. Today's the next day. Today I have matcha latte. I got some ceremonial matcha from my mom as a birthday gift. And so I've been vibing. So I keep switching between like cacao, matcha, and espresso at the beginning of my day. But I thought of two new things, not new concepts, but two more things to talk about for this video last night or towards the end of the day. One, I wanted to talk about the pros of going into a scroll hole, like some of the positive things about TikTok scrolls, YouTube Shorts, Reels. Even when I am being super intentional about the content that I'm consuming, I still intuitively feel called to those spaces every now and then. For me, at the end of my day, after I've done my creating, because that is such a great way to get like a fresh dose of information or inspiration. And especially with TikTok, TikTok is a platform that I'm increasingly getting to know more and more. And there's something so innovative about TikTok, and there's something so fresh. And I feel like TikTok is a platform that fosters uniqueness more than the other popular social media platforms out there. Like, I feel like you can get further as like putting out a unique frequency on TikTok as opposed to on Instagram, which Instagram has already like a kind of defined, what's the word? It already has kind of like a defined vibe to it, and it's very like visual aesthetics based because that's how Instagram started. But TikTok is kind of like the vibe is more like anything goes, and if it's good, then people will watch it and it'll get pushed forward. So I do like TikTok and I do like scrolling on those places intentionally, keyword intentionally. I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, it's basically that like concept, you know, everything in moderation. Like, you don't really have to cut anything out. So anyway, I like doing that at night. And then also this morning, like, I truly felt inspired to go on TikTok, and I did. And I found some really beautiful Pakistani aesthetic TikTok accounts, which is like a theme that I'm exploring right now. It's like I'm getting to know the country that I was born in through aesthetic social media content creators slash artists. And see, like that kind of stuff, like I wouldn't really go out to search. I wouldn't even know to search. Like, it kind of does have to come up in front of me automatically for me to realize, like, oh, I actually really vibe with this. So for those things, discovery reels and things like that are really, really great to spark inspiration that is already lives within you, but maybe you didn't even realize. But I guess the thing is, don't do it mindlessly. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about is something that I do when I am consuming media is, for me, I hyperfixate on 1 to 4 content creators, and then I kind of just like consume everything that they put out for a specific period of time. It's like I just like find someone that I really vibe with, and I really vibe with what they're talking about at that specific moment in time. Well, it's like I find someone and then I like move in parallel with them, and then at a certain point I diverge. But something I wanted to note with that, even with very intentionally chosen artists or content creators that you follow, like, it's important even with that to be mindful of how you're consuming their work, because in my past I have found that if I'm taking in or receiving a lot of work or art from one specific person, it naturally gets absorbed into me, and then it like goes into what my output is. And if I'm not balancing that one specific creator with other creators that I also like, I can kind of just naturally come into like a mimicry, not in a malicious way, but just naturally. It's like it's the dominant energy that is within me, and so like it naturally comes out in what I create. So I've also been mindful about switching things up, or if I notice that I'm kind of being pulled too far into one specific creator, I'll like take a break from them. Even if I still love them, I'll take a break just to kind of detach my unique frequency from theirs and not get mixed up. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, those are the two things. I'm going to film one more clip as a conclusion after today. I'll probably film it tomorrow. But yeah, I think we're nearing the end of the video. This was a fun way of making a video. Welcome back to me. This is actually a few days from the last clip, probably maybe even like a week since the last clip was filmed. I just finished editing the majority of these previous clips. Hi, Lena. You want to be in the video? So I thought that would come on here as the conclusion clip version of me, because this video was filmed in a format where it was all over the place, and I thought I would just come here and like summarize the main points. So what we talked about in this video is that, what happened? There's food over there. She wants it. What we basically spoke about in this video is that it's not about consuming less necessarily. It's about consuming mindfully. And the 5 points that I am looking over there, because that's where my 5 points are. The 5 points that we went through is number one, when do you mindlessly consume content? When are you not intentional? For me, it is when I am feeling some sort of discomfort or in my mind or my body, or I'm feeling anxious, and in order to escape the anxiousness, I will go into some mindless scroll holes, because those dopamine hits and that stimulation just helps keep me distracted from whatever it is that my body and my system wants to be feeling at that moment. So instead, what I have learned to do this week, or since the making of this video, is that I have learned the importance of being in silence with myself when I feel uncomfortable, and just letting myself sit with it, because at the end of the day, those discomfort, they're signals. It's telling you about something. It's there. It's coming up for a reason. It's there to give you some sort of information about something that isn't working in your life. If we are distracting ourselves when we feel those signals, then we'll never give ourselves the space to sit down and be with it and potentially analyze why those signals, those negative signals, came up. So I've really been committed this week to letting myself feel my feelings and understand why they're coming up. And usually within a few minutes, I will have my next exciting action to take that will move me out of that boredom, stillness, void, silence space into engaged, excited, happy about life again. So it's really about catching when I am gonna fall into susceptible to those scroll holes, and making sure that I'm just there with the discomfort. Third is scrolling short form content like TikToks, Reels, YouTube Shorts. It's not inherently a bad thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with those things. Again, it's like super easy, as we know, to abuse and mindlessly consume content in that way. But it's also a great way to find inspiration that you wouldn't necessarily search for yourself. And number 4, this is in the context of when there are specific artists or content creators or thinkers or whatever that you really vibe with and you're following. From my perspective, I think it's important to switch it up or take breaks from specific people that you're really into, because you can go into an unintentional mimicry if you absorb too much of their energy and you don't give yourself space to develop your energy and your vibe at the same time. So if you are consuming one person and you're not blending it with other people that inspire you too, you might just end up unintentionally becoming like a copy of that person just because you've eaten so much of that person's vibe, if that makes sense. Number 5 is literally just as on my note, be intentional in all caps. That's the summary of this video, and that's the summary of life, I think, in general. It's like everything you do, try to get all parts of you for it. Be intentional. Everything that you do, make sure that all the parts of you are in agreement at some level with one another so that you can move forward on that task, and that you're moving through your life and you're navigating through this physical dimension conscious of where you're going, what you're paying attention to, because that is literally what is setting your direction, right? What you're paying attention to, what you're paying attention to, what you're putting energy towards, that's the direction that you're moving in. So be mindful of the energies that you are engaging with when you do that, when you engage. Because if you like the energies, that's great because that's the direction you're moving in. But if you don't like the energies that you are consuming, be super mindful about your consumption of it, because you are walking straight into the direction of it. And if we don't pay attention to the direction that we are facing in, things will pop up in our reality that we might be like, oh, what? Like, this is so random. Why would this happen to me? Like, this doesn't make any sense. But it would make sense if you look at like the past few months or weeks or whatever of content that you've been consuming. You know what I'm trying to say? So yeah, that is the summary of this video. I'm not really sure if I like this format because when I was editing, it's like all over the place and I feel like it breaks it breaks the flow. But at the same time, it was fun to film in that way. I think in the future, like, I mean, it was fun to film kind of instead of one go all at once. It was fun to film as thoughts dropped in over time. So I think in the future, I might play with this format again, but I might make it a little bit more cohesive so that each clip doesn't feel super jarring transitioning from one clip to another. I don't know. If you have any feedback, leave it below. How did you find this format? It was definitely fun for me to film because I think it gave me the space to really contemplate in the ways that I wanted to, instead of feeling the pressure to just like remember and spit everything out all in one go. So I did like that. I liked the piece that came up with that. But now that I'm editing, I don't know, I haven't really fully watched the video with a clear perspective from start to finish. So I think after I post it, I'll come back like a week later and watch it and then really decide whether from like the receiver end, does it make sense as a format. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Module number 3 for the How to Be Unique series is still undecided. I will probably decide on it like as soon as I start post this video, so that'll be a surprise. If you want extra content, extra engagement, you just want to extra stuff, join my Patreon. I have a little like How to Be Unique series side questing going on there. And if we have enough people and if it feels right, I'll also do a group call on Zoom or something at the end of the series, and we can all like vibe about it and talk about it. And yeah, other than that, I have a Instagram, TikTok, Substack. I just joined Threads, and that's it for now. So if you want to see me in all those different types of formats, all the links are in the description. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. Mwah.